The golden age of Hollywood, stretching from the 1920s through the early 1960s, was often portrayed as a shimmering world of glamour, luxury, and eternal fame. But behind the glimmer of the silver screen was an industry that held its stars in an iron grip. These celebrities were bound by strict studio contracts, forced into manufactured identities, and stripped of their freedom. Some tried to break free from the Hollywood machine, to carve out lives of their own, but most failed. These are their stories. Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth was transformed by the studio system from Margarita Cancino, a shy young dancer, into one of the most alluring stars of the golden era. The red-haired goddess the world adored in Gilda was a character created by Columbia Pictures. Hayworth longed for a normal life away from the cameras, but Hollywood refused to let her be anything other than the sultry icon they had built. She once said, "Men fall in love with Gilda but wake up with me," highlighting the impossible gap between her real self and the fantasy Hollywood sold. No matter how hard she tried to escape, her identity as Gilda overshadowed everything, even her private relationships. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was a talented actor who actively resisted Hollywood's rigid studio system. He refused long-term contracts, preferring to choose roles that resonated with him artistically. But his life changed drastically after a car accident in 1956 left his face partially disfigured. The studios that once embraced his brooding good looks grew cold, and Clift found himself fighting both personal demons and an industry that only valued him when he fit their perfect image. His addiction struggles and health problems worsened as he tried to maintain his career on his own terms, ultimately leading to his premature death. Clift's life shows how unforgiving Hollywood could be to those who refuse to conform. Frances Farmer. Frances Farmer stands as one of the most tragic stories of Hollywood rebellion. Intelligent, outspoken, and defiant, she refused to play the obedient starlet that studios demanded. Her refusal to participate in staged publicity events and her open criticism of Hollywood's artificiality branded her as difficult. Soon, Farmer was blacklisted, institutionalized, and subjected to years of abuse and mistreatment, including controversial psychiatric practices of the time. Her attempts to live a life free from the industry's control resulted in complete isolation and ruin, making her story one of the most heartbreaking examples of Hollywood's cruelty. Clark Gable. Clark Gable, the so-called king of Hollywood, struggled to balance the demands of fame with his personal grief. After the sudden death of his wife, Carole Lombard, Gable wanted nothing more than to step away from the spotlight. He even enlisted in the military during World War II, seeking some form of purpose beyond Hollywood. Yet the studios still claimed him, using his image as a symbol of masculinity and strength. Gable returned to a world he no longer loved, forced to play the same roles and maintain the same public image until his death. His attempts to escape were overshadowed by the industry's need to keep him as a larger-than-life figure. Judy Garland. Judy Garland was one of MGM's most valuable stars, but her life was never her own. From her teenage years, she was subjected to relentless control, forced onto strict diets, given pills to keep her thin, energized, or sedated, and pushed to work exhausting hours. Her innocent image as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz was the opposite of her reality. Garland's repeated attempts to escape Hollywood's grip, whether by walking away from contracts or seeking new roles that would allow her to redefine herself, always ended with the industry pulling her back into its demands. Even at the height of her fame, she was trapped, her career and personal life spiraling under the weight of a system that saw her as a product rather than a person. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe fought tirelessly to be seen as more than just a blonde bombshell. Known for her charm and beauty, Monroe wanted respect as a serious actress. She created her own production company in a bid for creative independence, but the industry, and the public, continued to objectify her, forcing her back into roles that capitalized on her sex appeal. Monroe's attempts to escape Hollywood's expectations often brought her into conflict with studio executives who sought to control her career and image. Despite her efforts to reshape her destiny, Monroe's struggles with depression, isolation, and the suffocating pressures of fame ultimately led to her tragic downfall. The golden age of Hollywood was not just a dream machine, it was a factory of illusions that demanded complete submission from those it elevated. For the stars who tried to break free, The cost was often everything: their peace, their identities, and in some cases, their lives. The studio system didn't just own the roles they played, it owned the person behind the role. Even those who achieved legendary fame often found themselves imprisoned by the very image that made them famous. Escape was not just difficult, it was punished. And for many, the legacy they left behind is a monument not only to their talent, but to the impossible fight to reclaim their freedom from an industry that never truly let go.